Special KE on Twitter. Text us on 22422. Leave your name and location. And in a few moments as well, we'll be taking some phone calls. 0719 777 is the number. Now, the school holidays are upon us, and whereas this may be of some reprieve for the thousands of students who will be out of school, for many parents, concerns over what their children get up to for the next 8 weeks is nothing short of daunting. More so when it comes to teens. According to the National AIDS Control Council, close to 500,000 adolescents aged between 10 and 19 are HIV positive, with the new findings attributed to early sexual encounters, including the fact that 20% of youth profiled had their first sexual encounter before the age of 15. So, how do we ensure that our children are productive during this time? That's what we're delving into right now on Monday Special. I'll introduce you to my panelists before we take a look at what parents from different counties are saying. We have Ariel Odera. She's a teen, so maybe she'll give us some insight into this mysterious world of teenagers that people seem to be really scared of. Yeah. But you'll be telling us about that. Then we have Pastor Dr. Pete Odera, a parent, a musician. He spent a lot of time with young people as well, and talk from his own experience as a parent for 16 years. And then finally we have Jessica Kinoti. She's also a parent and a sociologist as well, taking us through what it was like then when children are home and why parents seem to be a little mortified about that whole aspect right now. I don't know if we have some of the sound bites from different counties. Let's take a listen before we start our discussion. Listen to this.
It's a good opportunity to know the children, because from January up to October, wako na walimu. It's a rare opportunity. Wacha tuwarishe, wacha tukae na wao, wacha tujue tabia zao. Me, I'm happy. I support the ministry.
Watoto watakaa miezi more than 2 months nyumbani, na for me nachukua ni wakati mzuri. Okay, personally nikae na mtoto, ujue mtoto, ufundishe mtoto njia mzuri ile in terms of discipline. Unapata time mzuri hata kama ni kufundisha mtoto how kukaa na society, kwa sababu out of hii ya watoto kukua every now and then wako shuleni, unapata watoto labda penye wamekosa, yani wewe kama mzazi umekufail kufundisha mtoto about kukaa na society, inakufanya labda mtoto anaingia kwa mambo za radicalization, wanafundishwa mambo kama na dini mbaya ama ile uharifu na get.
Kukaa nyumbani hiyo miezi ni mingi, watoto wataharibika. Si unaona vile magonjwa iko.
It would have been better kama wangekaa shule at least kama tu kawaida venye tumezoea. Ya girls sasa ndio watajua mambo ya relationships, na tutaona mambo ya drugs na mambo ya kupata balls za mapema itakithiri sana.
Ninge advise some parents kwa kama kuna some groups kama tuition, ili hao wakwe wakae hapo ili wa spend most of the time in those groups in order kukaa nje kurandaranda mtaani.
It may force parents either to lock them inside the houses, which is very bad for them, because we don't have those facilities that can keep them busy. And we would really wish that a program, either by the churches or any other organization, can be put in place to take care of them.
Wasasi wasione mzigo ya watoto wao kwa kukaa nao. Safari hii na ni mdu mzuri ni kukaa nao na kuwafunza wawe na tabia mzuri, waone mali wale ambao wako nao, waone tabia ile ambao wanafaa kukaa. So hii ni muda kidogo kwa wale wasasi ambao wanapenda watoto wao.
Right, so some strong views there. I'll come to you a bit in a bit, Ariel. You're here with your father, of course, Dr. Pete Odera. What do you think it is about this holiday that you feel is frightening parents? Granted, we have those who genuinely are struggling with the means to, carry through the next 8 weeks. But is there something deeper to why this is daunting for them?
Absolutely. Thanks, Janet. I think we've been so conditioned to this dysfunction of not having our children that we're now afraid of having our children. Our children are ours. We should be happy. Okay, they're home for 2 months. We should be joyful. But clearly this is a problem, because I think the main thing is that many parents are just not prepared. They're not prepared to spend, number one, as much time because of maybe work obligations, but also to have the kids in a way unsupervised, quote unquote unsupervised.
How did you deal with that? I mean, Ariel is here, she's 16, at some point she was younger. I know she also goes through holidays right now, long ones. What do you do as a parent during that time?
Yeah, not like the gentleman said, lock them at home. No, I don't know. What we've tried to do is come up with systems, basic systems where, first of all, we don't, many parents have a live-in house help. We don't have a live-in house help who comes only a few days a week. And so they have to do, we have to cooperate to do, the entire family has to cooperate to do household chores. So that's one of the things, because it's our home. It's not the parents' home, it's our home. This is our home. So that's some of the things that happen. And then also really try and find a way to say, okay, fine, because I will say on screen for the last almost 2 years, we haven't watched TV. We haven't watched TV, and so we hear about.
You haven't watched TV.
We are not plugged into the system, so and she will tell you for herself, and you know, so for that it's been almost what 2 years now.
Yeah. Okay.
Almost 2 years.
Let me come to Ariel now before we get to Jessica. Tell us about the whole TV.
Okay.
You don't have TV at all, or it's there and you just don't watch it? How does that work?
Okay, when we moved house, we couldn't get Zuku where we lived, and so we just ended up not watching it. And then after a while, you get used to it. But then we found out DSTV could go there, but then parents.
You're like, let me not go too deep into that. My dad is here. But okay, so for you, he talks about doing household chores, and what other activities would he do with you, or would you do as a family that got you through the long holidays when you're home?
Sometimes parents take time off to hang out with us. We go places, we explore, because we hadn't really known the place that we live right now. And so we'd go out, we'd go on drive. Also, I like to spend my time reading books and just...
Yeah. So in a nutshell, is it that complicated? Because I think what's happening here, and we'll come to Jessica, is the feeling that they need to constantly be engaged in very many activities outside the house that's going to cost money, that's going to do this and that. But as a teen, does it just come down to spending time with your children? Is that what matters to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like there should be, if as a child, I'd like to have a good relationship with my family and with my parents, so that if something happened, or if I wanted to do something, I can freely tell them. And so I can tell my parents that if something happened at school or if someone said something. So it's just, it's easy to talk to them. So it's good to have a relationship.
Do a lot of people your age right now have a good relationship with their parents, in your honest view?
Not really.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Is the disconnect because they don't spend time together?
Sometimes, but there's just like this fear of your parents, because I don't know what brought it about, but there's a fear of your parents and talking to them, just freely speaking to them about anything. And now this comes to life because you're at home with them for 8 weeks. Jessica, again, just going back to a similar question that I asked Pete Odera, what do you think it is? And tell us a little bit more about perhaps 10, 15 years ago, what the challenges around parenting were compared to what they are now.
Okay, first of all, Janet, I would start by appreciating that there is a challenge in terms of handling our children during this long holiday, because actually when they're in school, the school has systems that works for them in terms of engaging them, so that their curricular activities for them, there's a school program that keep occupying them. But now when we come at home, it's like we don't have structures. Yeah. And you see the fact that the different families differ. You know, issues are as diverse as families are, so that we can't just have a proper formula of this is how we're going to handle the children. There's no formula we have as parents on how to handle the children. Okay, previously, the challenges were not as they are before, looking at the times, where after schools we go visit our grandparents. Those grandparents basically were there, they're in the rural village. But now the grandparents you're talking about, it's us who are in the city. So that it's overwhelming for us even to be at home. And also, even us as grandparents, they are not willing to also parent, to co-parent. Psychologists will tell us that grandparents do not want to do secured parenting. It's it's a stress.
It's a stress for them to go back to that all over again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about children upbringing, it's about upbringing the child, nurturing them and mentoring them. It's not just a visit to a grandma.
Right. So is that a value issue then? Because before it was embraced, arms wide open, come if you need help with your child. But now even grandparents are saying, I'm busy. You know, I'm in the city, I'm also. So are we seeing our values shifting to being more, where we're more where it's more individualized? You handle your issues and I'll handle mine. Is that what we're seeing?
Okay, basically when you look at the process of social change, there are various issues that happen. There's urbanization, people move. The rural areas are shrinking. There's no space for people to occupy those areas. So when you go out, you have to go out to look for livelihood. And again, we're talking about these grandparents went to school. They have a white-collar job. They have to move where the jobs are. So that shift, it's like now the rural areas are diminishing as we progress. So basically, that's I would look at it that way.
All right. And what can we do about it? And maybe I can hear from you too, because what you're saying is it's the inevitable. But then what do we do? Because right now it seems like the cord is really breaking in families, in society. So are we just going to accept that? That's urbanization, that's fine. You know, if the holidays come, I don't really want to spend time with my kids. Or what can we do to begin to accept or to begin to go back to being present when it comes to being with our families?
Okay, just before we go to that, I started by saying that the families, the children are diverse as the families are. In some situations, even those grandparents are no more, they're dead. So that there is nowhere to take those children.
In the holidays.
So it's just a mixture of events.
The dynamics are different. Very briefly, before we take in some phone calls as well,
Absolutely. I'd say, for sure, it's a value issue. We see certainly that some of the structures, social structures that were present are now broken down. But we have to change with time. And I feel that the important thing for us is not to be afraid of our children. And we learn. We learn and begin to modify our behavior. Urbanization, modernity, a lot of these things are realities. But if we don't change with those things that are inevitabilities in our social structure, it'll serve as a negative force towards our kids. I think the other thing is that, like Ariel said, we have to win the confidence of our kids, and the kids need to win the confidence of the parents. That's a relationship building. I think the other side of it is that if you look at many of our urban centers, open spaces, social centers, places where children or young people could express themselves, are shrinking. Every space in urban centers, unfortunately, is being grabbed for development, for housing projects and so on. I think this is something that is to me, is a disappointment. We need park spaces, we need basketball courts, we need open fields where young people can play, can exercise, because I think the thing is, if it's only education that we're thinking about, then we're bringing up an entire generation of people who are maladjusted to social existence. I think this is important for us.
I'll get Ariel's point of view in just a moment, but I understand we have a phone call. If you can hear me, please tell us your name and where you're calling from and what your question or comment is.
Okay, for you.
Hello.
For you.
Good, thank you. Please go ahead with your question or comment.
Okay, kind of a comment. For me, I think I'm Teresa from Eka.
Okay.
For me, I think this is the best time ever for parents to interact with their children, because I think there has been a neglect of responsibility to parents, because the whole burden of raising up kids from baby class to primary school, secondary school, it has been teacher and parent relationship. Should this turn to parents, I think a better time for them to know their behaviors, their weaknesses, for them to know, even when this kid is at school, there is a better way to handle that issue in case an issue arises.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's my
comment. Okay, Teresa from Thika, thank you so much for that comment. You can call in with your comments or questions. Either is okay. So she's saying what a few people have said on SMS. Like, someone is even saying, why are we even talking about this? Like, you're the parent, you need to take responsibility. Why do you think we're scared of our children? Maybe Ariel can tell us. Parents seem to be genuinely afraid of their children. Let's go outside of This is expensive. And like I said, we appreciate that for some, they're wondering how they're going to manage those expenses. But more than that, there seems to be something deeper. What do you think that is? And even Jessica, you can weigh in. What fear of their children or teenagers is there?
Okay, from my point of view, I feel like maybe there's like this gap between your parents and you. So it's, how do I explain it?
You don't know how to relate.
Yeah, there's like
generational gap.
Yeah, you don't know how to relate with your children because they're so different from you, and what they like is not what you like, and so it's just hard to communicate. And you just say, nope, I'm not going to deal with that.
All right. I'll ask you how you best think we can communicate with children, and Jessica as well. But we have another phone call. Hello, can you hear?
Hello.
Hello, hi. Please tell us your name and go ahead with your question or comment.
My name is Richard.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, Richard.
My name is Richard. I just want to contribute to that debate. The only problem that we have is parents don't want to adjust. The parents are used to other things when children are in school. But here, parents should now stop what they have been doing or the programs they've been having, especially in the evenings or during the day, so that they replace that with taking care of the children. The problem is not the children. It's only the parents don't want to adjust to take care of their children. So the children have no problem. Only the parents should adjust, stop going to the bar, stop going to social places, stop going to see friends, stop going to see what, and attend to their children for the 2 months, and everything will be fine.
Okay. Richard, thank you so much. He sounds very passionate. Thank you so much for that. Problem is that the parents, Jessica, Pete, agreed?
Oh, okay.
So go ahead, Jessica.
Okay, to some extent, even the parents don't know what to do, Janet, because it is so overwhelming.
How do you not know what to do with your child? I think that's what I'm trying to understand. Again, aside from maybe not being able to
maybe I can
afford.
help. I can help.
Or maybe let me finish. Maybe
let me just finish.
Okay. I'm sharing Richard's passion here, but yeah.
No, we are saying that the challenge is here with us, but we are not saying that it's banning because it's our children.
Okay.
But now we are saying that look at, like now you're here. You're not on leave. We don't have a system that works that when parents are on holiday, when children are on holiday, the parents are on holiday. Or in some situations, people don't go even for the annual leaves for those who are working. So that, is there a system that allows us to have holidays when children are on holidays? You know, that's on an extreme case.
No, it actually makes sense. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Again, but of course that's a policy issue. Because like now we see that it's a policy issue because you can't decide that you have to go on leave ourselves on holidays. And again, the parents could be aware of avenues which are there to occupy the children, because we are not saying that the parents have to sit down 24 hours with the parents. But again, it's about being aware of the avenues that are there to occupy those children. How best are we utilizing those avenues? There is the issue of the cost, but again, how can we go about it? For example, we know, like when we were growing up, during the holidays, we were eager to go for church choir. There were drama activities to attend to. We don't say that those things are normal. Those activities are still there. To what extent are the parents willing to utilize them? There comes the issue of the cost also. That's why I'm saying that it's a debate. We don't know exactly.
And of course,
it's a delicate situation because we are talking about different families. We are not talking about the terrorist family here with her daughter.
Okay. Before we hear from Ariel, what do you do with your own children? You're a mother, I think, of 2. That's what she had told me. Of this age, they're on holiday.
Yes.
Are you facing any challenges regarding what to do with them right now?
Of course, there's the budget that escalates. And again, in terms of what can they do?
They eat.
But then you come up with, first of all, you want to occupy them at home. See what is it they can do. I like the parents who are saying that it's the time that we need to teach our children responsibility. When they're in school, you don't have time to tell them, this is how you cook, this is how you clean up. But you see, again, as a parent, you have to be fair. You have to be, like a working mother like myself, have to be on leave, have to be on holiday to have that time to teach the children, so that they can, their time is occupied constructively. And again, we have the use of technology. Technology is good and bad. For example, if you can allow them to watch a cartoon if they are little babies, but again, there must be control in terms of how long do they sit on television.
Okay, so coming up with a structure that works for you and your family doesn't have to be uniform.
Yes.
But again, what I'm hearing across the board is responsibility, chores, and at least, you know, you talked about budget, and I'm guessing that's for expenses, food, that kind of thing, right? And not gifts, and not necessarily for activities, because they talked about spending time. You know, you can even take a walk, I think, with your children, so it's not necessarily expensive. Ariel, how best can parents connect with their children and teens? As a teen, what would you want to see, aside from your father, your parents who are very, you know, present in your life? I think there's the feeling a lot of teens get, we're disconnected, they don't really get me, they've not really been there for me. If a parent right now is worried about how to begin connecting with their child for the next 8 weeks, where should they begin?
Okay. Before, like, there was a bit of a disconnect, because we didn't really talk that much, because I was in school and doing 8 for 4, my class 8. And so when I moved to my new school, it started with, okay, so you get in the car after school and you're like, okay, how's your day? What happened? What did you learn? Just so that you know what they're doing, but it's subtle.
Okay, so that works. If it's subtle and it grows from there. All right. And ideas for activities? People are asking, if you're a young person, what kind of things do you think parents should start doing with their children and their teens for the next 8 weeks that are affordable, that are doable? What do you think would work? I'll give you a second to think about that as we get our closing comments. I don't know whether we'll take the tweets. Okay, there's some tweets. There's some tweets that we can take up now before we then get closing comments for the discussion. Can we bring those tweets? Okay. Cynthia _ says, children can stay busy by learning a new language and studying a little to keep them busy. Okay, that's a good one. Dylan _ Nyariki says, we'll advise the parents to utilize these holidays and bond with their children at home. Elton N56 says, let kids relax. It's been like 8 months, so let's give them a chance to relax. And then Smart Prince Kev1 says, this is the best time for parents to give full parental advisory to their children. And finally, Kate Best K says, parents should engage their young people in activities that benefit them and watch out for misbehavior. Okay, before we get some closing comments, one more phone call, I believe. I don't know if we have them on the line or whether we need to give them a bit more time. Okay, we do have someone on the line. Hello, can you hear us? The call was dropped. Let's get closing comments now from you, Jessica. So moving forward, the next 8 weeks, they're here, they're with us. What do you want to tell parents to do just for that adjustment, and children as well?
Let's utilize the avenues that are appropriate for the specific families. We have what the religious institutions can do, if it's the churches, the mosques, what social activities are available. We have the parents themselves in terms of keeping vigilance as parents and taking up the responsibility that children are ours and they need to be engaged constructively, and also in terms of trying to watch out what are they doing. And also neighborhood watch, because we live in neighborhoods, so that every parent wants to take every child they see as theirs. If there's anything which looks weird, which is queer, they report it. And again, we're talking about schools. Schools also have holiday programs, camps, or that. Let's use those opportunities. Also, there's positive peer pressure, peer activities reinforcement, because we have peers can come together, come up with play groups, come up with music groups. But again, the children, the parents must be on watch on that.
Unless they're working parents. If you have a 9 to 5, that's where you talk about the neighborhood watch, right?
Yes.
If it's a parent who's working the whole day, what would you want to?
But when I talk about a neighborhood watch, I'm saying that when Dr. Ria sees my child doing this, you should start as a parent, not just leave them and say, those I don't know whose parents are. So that we take parenting as an activity, as a collective activity for all of us as parents.
Sometimes that may land you in trouble, but I guess it has to be agreed.
Yeah. That is what works traditionally.
Yeah, being raised by a village. That's what they say. A child is raised by a village.
Yes.
Okay.
And I also have comments in terms of what we can do at the policy level. I said that
you took the words out of my mouth.
We'll come to you just now.
Go ahead.
She's closing.
Yeah.
We have holidays. Let's see a system that works in Kenya so that we have holidays that coincide with school holidays. It has been possible to have 2 months holiday for our children. It is possible for governments or employers to see how we can bridge the gap. Number 2, we are moving towards times of election where there are many security issues. Let the administrators, the government, join us in keeping vigilant so that we are aware, because again many things happen during the holidays and we need to be in safe hands.
All right,
Jessica for Governor.
Sociologist. Thank you so much. I think apparently we have one more phone call before we hear from Ariel and Dr. Pete. Do we have someone on the line? Drops again. It's almost bedtime, maybe. Okay, so let's hear your.
Well, she took the words out of my mouth.
Right.
I mean, for me, I like to see a little more with strategy and structure, where the holidays match really what Jessica said. When you travel to Europe, especially in Europe, you find that Norway, Sweden, those kind of countries have holidays that match with the school holidays and the school program. I think this is important because we want to spend time with our children.
Right.
But I do want to say something that may take us a little bit back. For those who are panicking now, it may be because there's something that was missing. With Ariel and her sister, I stayed home for a long time because I used to work out of home. And they could walk into my studio, my office, anytime. I mean, when they were 4 or 5, they'd hang around, and so we built a long-term relationship. I think it's never too late to start. If you have small children, this is the opportunity, to now begin to connect with them. And if you're working, you can begin. And this is why I say that your workplace needs to also help you. That your employer can say, look, we're going to let you come with your kids as long as you can supervise them once or twice a week so that they know what daddy or mommy does. This may not be practical for everyone, but it's something. When children begin to see that, money doesn't come out of the wallet, but there's work connected to it after which you get paid, they begin to learn these things early because it's important. So we began early. I think we began early to develop relationships with our children.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Ariel, your final words.
Again, I think it's really important to just create a good relationship with them and start slowly so that it's not like you're bombarding them, because if we're talking about teenagers, you have to have your space. So don't, if there's no relationship, don't force it. Just start slowly, and they'll work up to you.
Okay, thank you for that. That was some good insight. Thank you all so much for contributing to the conversation tonight.
Thank you for having us.
All right, great. We'll be back after this short break. Stay with Monday Special.